Hey VC, it's Jonathan, your cheap and cheerful record collector. Another video today. First off, I just want to thank all my new subscribers. I've seen a bunch recently. I really appreciate you people taking time out to watch my stupid little videos. Just as a general introduction, if you haven't seen any of my videos before, the reason I call it cheap and cheerful is that about a year ago, I saw a video some guy put on, and he was bemoaning the fact that we have a great hobby, but how expensive it is to keep up with it. And I was like, no, not really, because I have just over 2,000 albums in my collection, and a good 90%, if not more, I bought for $5 or less. So I decided I was going to do a channel where I could show that you can build a great collection for less than $5. And that's what I've done. I do have some newer stuff. I do go to local stores and buy some new LPs now and again, but not often. Most of my stuff is digging in barns and looking on Craigslist and word of mouth. So yeah, you don't need to spend a lot of money to get a really great collection of records. So just want to thank all the new subscribers on board. And today's video I'm going to do is going to be all about 10-inch records. These, basically all of these, except for maybe 2 or 3, I picked up at Goodwill. Cost me $1 or so each. And well, let's get on it. Most of these actually are from the mid-1950s, when the 10-inch was pretty much prevalent before the 12 inches came out strong. First one is called Man with a Horn. And I picked this up because it has Louis Armstrong on it, and also Roy Eldridge and Bob Berrigan. But nice compilation from Decca. I can show the label, I guess, if people like to see the labels, especially these old ones. Pretty cool. That's the old Decca label. So while I was on the Louis Armstrong kick, here's another one called Louis Armstrong's Classic New Orleans to New York, also on Decca. Great record, really great, love this. Of course, Louis Armstrong, what was it, that documentary that Ken Burns did. One of the good things he said about the documentary is that it said every record store over the jazz section should have a big arrow pointed straight down to Louis Armstrong and should say, start here, which is absolutely true. All right, this next one is on Capitol, again, mid-1950s. This is Just Jazz All-Stars featuring Louis Bellson. And the real reason I got this is that it has on here Billy Strahan. I don't know if you know Billy Strahan, but he's the guy who wrote Take the A Train for Duke Ellington, and he was Duke Ellington's accompanist and composer for many years. And another great album. Louis Bellson with Billy Strahan. Next one I picked up is Red Camp Upright Fugitive Piano Smasher from 52nd Street. I just thought that was cool. And there's the label on the back there. Again, most of these are mid-1950s. Lena Horne. This is Lena Horne. Love that cover. You don't get that today. And this popular collector's issue, so obviously it's a reissue, but that's fine. Lena Horne. The next one actually is a new one I picked up at Record Store Day about a year or so ago. This is Steve Earle doing Terraplane Blues, and the flip side is Robert Johnson doing Terraplane Blues. It's a 10-inch. I see Record Store Day. I think that was a year or so ago. Another Record Store Day pickup I did a while ago. This is Miles Davis on Blue Note doing Enigma, Kilo, and Chance It. On the band is J.J. Johnson on trombone, Jimmy Heath, Jackie McLean, Percy Heath, Oscar Pettiford, Art Blakey on drums. So that's Miles Davis on Blue Note. That was a Record Store Day. I paid more than $5 for that, but that was worth it. Here's one everybody knows. Here's The Clash, 10-inch Clash. The first album, Capital Radio 1, The Prisoner, Pressure Drop, Armageddon Time. Great, great stuff. Love that. Black Market Clash. All right, next one is one I saw, and I knew the album, but I never knew it was available in a 10-inch. So I was really excited about this. This is Joe Jackson from 1979, Look Sharp. And there's two 10-inch records in here. And I guess in this little space here, there was a button at one time that said Look Sharp. So that was, unfortunately, is gone, but has a gatefold, which is sort of cool. If you haven't seen that before. And this is the label on that one. A&M. Well, let me get this straight so we're not looking backwards. Joe Jackson, Look Sharp. So that was sort of a cool find. Love Joe Jackson, so that was sort of a, like I said, I never knew that came out in a 10-inch version. Next one is one I found also at Goodwill, and I was totally shocked to see this when I looked it up on Discogs. I was a little bit taken aback. This is Eartha Kitt Sings, and the reason I was why I grabbed it, besides the fact that Eartha Kitt's great, is that on the back it says Victor Company of Japan. So it's a Japanese release from 1953. Here's the label. Victor, Black Victor. It's not good shape. Not perfect, but definitely listenable. And when I looked it up on Discogs, I saw two were for sale for $100 each, which I was a little bit amazed. I found it at Goodwill for $1. The problem with mine is that the cover, which looks fine, is totally split. It's in pieces. So, obviously it's not worth that kind of money, but great to have and very listenable. That was a good one. Next one I got fairly recently. This is Ricky Lee Jones with an EP called Girl at Her Volcano. This is from 1983. Ricky Lee Jones. There's the flip side, as they say. And basic plain Warner Brothers label. Nothing special about that. But not bad. Not a bad record at all. The next one is another one I didn't know they made in a 10-inch. It turned out I picked this up also at Goodwill. This was a UK pressing from 1983. And it's the Lovin Spoonful, which is great. Lovin Spoonful, Best in the West. Has 4 songs on the side. There's your playlist. And it was really clean. And I was really happy to get that. And it's on PRT Records, which I don't know. But I assume they're a British. So that's pretty cool. That's the Lovin Spoonful on 10-inch. The next one is this album which I grew up with. My parents had this as a kid. They had it, and I listened to this all the time. This is a satirical singer-songwriter, Tom Lehrer. He actually was a math professor at Harvard for years, and then was on the TV show back in the day called That Was the Week That Was, which was sort of like a precursor to Saturday Night Live. They would talk about events of the past week and in a satirical way. And they had songs, and he wrote some songs for it. So this has such classics as The Old Dope Peddler, I Want to Go Back to Dixie, My Hometown, I Hold Your Hand in Mine. Anyway, great stuff. Tom Lehrer on 10-inch. Songs of Tom Lehrer. Okay, next one. Porgy and Bess, Gershwin, on Decca. I don't know any of the people in this featured in this recording, but It was sort of cool. Love the cover. And for $1 or $2, I couldn't leave it there. Next one, George Shearing. I Hear Music. George Shearing Quintet. Love that 50s cover. And it's on the yellow MGM label. Next one is another obscure record. Back in the 1920s, there was this singer, a songwriter and a musician named U.B. Blake and Noble Sissle. And they wrote a bunch of Broadway shows with black stars and basically geared towards African-American audiences. And this is one of those things called Shuffle Along and the Songs from the Blackbirds. So those are two shows they both wrote. I think U.B. Blake wrote the music and Noble Sissle wrote the lyrics. Pretty great stuff. Really great stuff. So that was good to have. This one I picked up just the other day, actually, and I have it in a 12-inch, but when I saw the 10-inch, I couldn't say no. And it's Frank Sinatra, Swing Easy on Capitol. I don't know how people feel about Frank, but I think he's probably the greatest singer of the 20th century. The best. Next one is a folk album by a group called the Weavers. Don't know if people know the Weavers, but they were very big in the late 50s, early 60s. Pete Seeger was in the band. I know a lot of you know Pete Seeger from his folk music stuff. So this was one of his bands after he was with Woody Guthrie in the Almanac Singers. He then went on to form the Weavers. And actually it was my very first concert when I was like 12 years old, 1963. My parents took me to Carnegie Hall to see the Weavers reunion. All right, and the last but not least of my 10-inch records is another Gershwin, Rhapsody in Blue, and this is with Paul Whiteman's orchestra. Don't know if you know Paul Whiteman, but he should have been called White Bread. He was the most, he took everything and just whitened it up, made it look sound and boring and bland, but he was the first one to play Rhapsody in Blue in concert with George Gershwin playing the piano. This one does not have Gershwin on the piano, but when the first time that it ever was played was with Whiteman Band and Gershwin on the piano, so I figured it would be good to have that copy. But Paul Whiteman just made everything bland and horrible. Anyway, those are my 10-inch records. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope to do I have been cleaning records non-stop. I just did about 25 records yesterday. I have 25 more records to clean today. Then I got to listen to them. Finally, when I get finished listening to them, I will do a video on all my new finds. Hope you enjoyed it, and keep spinning those discs. Until next time, peace.